His death was one of the most infamous moments in comic book history. The event shocked readers, outraged fans, and continues to spark debate decades later. So why did Jason Todd die? To answer, you need to understand who Jason Todd was. After Dick Grayson moved on from crime fighting as Robin, Bruce Wayne, better known as Batman, found himself a new partner. The world of Gotham is unstable, and Batman is not the easiest mentor. When Bruce met Jason, Jason was trying to steal the wheels off the Batmobile. An odd origin, but it said a lot about who Jason was: reckless and crucially defiant. Bruce took him in, trained him, made him the second Robin. The problem is, the world loved Dick Grayson as Robin. Jason, not so much. In the comics, Jason was headstrong, even abrasive. He rarely listened to Batman, preferred his fists to his brain, and often let anger call the shots. DC decided to make him fundamentally different from the first Robin. They got what they wanted. In the 1980s, comic books were changing. They were grimmer, darker, and more focused on consequences. Creators wondered, could a superhero story be more than fights and costumes? Could choices actually matter, if in fatal ones? That brings us to 1988, and the story arc called A Death in the Family. Batman and Jason, now an adult, were clashing. Jason had discovered the truth about his birth mother and had left Gotham alone, desperate and vulnerable. Batman followed him, knowing full well that Gotham and the world beyond could be fatal for someone as impulsive as Jason Todd. Now, DC Comics faced a dilemma. Jason was unpopular. Letter columns were filled with complaints about his behavior. But comic readers were a fickle bunch. Was Jason too far gone, or could he be redeemed? DC decided to let the fans decide. They set up 2 telephone numbers. In the final issue, Batman races to try to save Jason. Fans would vote live, by phone, to determine the outcome.
Out.
When the votes were tallied, it was close, astonishingly close. By just 72 votes, fans chose death. In the story, Jason tracked down his birth mother. It turns out she was in trouble with the Joker, a detail that spelled trouble for anyone in Gotham, least of all a Robin acting alone. The Joker captured both Jason and his mother, locked them up in a warehouse, savagely beat Jason, and left a timed bomb. Batman raced against fate, but fate was cruel. The bomb exploded. When he arrived, all Batman could do was witness the aftermath. Jason Todd, the second Robin, was dead. That's the story within the comic books. But why, really, did Jason Todd die? He died because readers chose it. DC lent unprecedented power to their fans, giving them a literal vote on the life or death of a major character. They also killed him because Jason's story at that time seemed to demand it. It was the anti-Ubuntu, angry, too broken, never quite able to live up to the legacy people expected. In a way, the story became a parable of consequence. In a world as dangerous as Gotham, you can't always fight your way through. Sometimes you lose. Of course, not everyone was pleased. Some thought it was a tasteless publicity stunt. Others argued that the character was never given a fair shot. Batman himself, in-universe, was crushed. Jason's death haunted Bruce Wayne, deepening his guilt and reminding him of the constant danger he put his partners in. The event transformed Batman as a character. From then on, failure, his inability to save Jason, became a central wound. The shadow of Jason's death hung over every sidekick, every mission, but this is comic books. Death is rarely permanent. Years later, Jason Todd returned. Resurrected by complicated comic book logic involving the Lazarus Pit and alternate realities, he became the red-hooded, darker, more violent vigilante, shaped by death and anger. Still, the reason Jason Todd died remains simple, and yet complicated. He died because readers asked for it. Because DC wanted to see if comics could carry real, painful stakes. And because in a genre built on the illusion of change, this was change that actually stuck, at least for a while. And so, Jason Todd's death wasn't just an end for one Robin, it was a turning point. That reshaped Batman and comics themselves forever.